Hello and welcome to lesson 15-2. We're going to work on more numerical patterns for this lesson, same as we did in the previous one. Let's go ahead and take a look at our video lesson quickly and then jump into those notes and guided practice lessons together.
How can you identify relationships between patterns? Think about this question during the lesson. Jack is training for a race. Each week he runs 30 miles and bikes 120 miles. He created a table to record his progress. How many total miles will he run and bike after 5 weeks? Can you identify any relationship between the miles run and the miles biked? You can use the rules add 30 and add 120 to help you complete the table. Since Jack runs 30 miles each week, add 30 to find the next term for the total miles run. How many total miles did Jack run after 2 weeks? How many total miles did Jack run after 3 weeks? Explain how you know.
Okay, so if we know that the rule for running is to add 30 miles each week, that means if he's starting at 30 miles for week 1, for week 2, we're going to add another 30 miles. So 2 groups of 30, which is 60. For week 3, you're going to add another group of 30. So that's 3 groups of 30. It's going to be 90, and then 120, and then 150 for his runs for the first 5 weeks. We know this because we're following that same rule of add 30 each time.
Jack ran 60 miles after 2 weeks because 30 plus 30 equals 60. He ran 90 miles after 3 weeks because 60 plus 30 equals 90. What is another way that you can find how many miles Jack ran after 5 weeks besides adding 90 plus 30 plus 30?
Another method you could use is multiplication. Since we're doing repeated addition, so we're adding the same number over and over again, we can use repeated addition in the form of multiplication. So 30 times week 1, so 30 times 1 was 30. 30 times 2 weeks, which is 30 times 2 is 60, times 3 is 90, 30 times 4 is 120, and then 30 times 5 is going to give you 150.
To find how many miles Jack ran after 5 weeks, you can also multiply 5 times 30. Add 120 to find each term in the pattern for the total number of miles biked. Compare the corresponding terms in the patterns. So, the total number of miles biked is always 4 times the total number of miles run. Would subtracting the total miles run from the total miles biked help? Why? Or why not? No, the difference is not the same for each week. Jack biked 90 more miles after week 1, 180 more miles after week 2, and so on.
Now you know how you can identify relationships between patterns.
All right, let's go ahead and get into our notes and guided practice. So here, our focus question is how can you identify relationships between patterns? You can use the patterns that you see in the tables to figure out the rule that the numbers are following, and then you can apply that rule to extend your patterns. So our first example says, during summer vacation, Julie read 45 pages each day. Her brother Brett read 15 pages each day. Complete the tables to show how many pages each of them read after 5 days. So for Julie, we listed her days and how many pages she read, and same thing, days and how many pages Brett read. Now the rule for Julie, we said, is add 45, and the rule for Brett is add 15. So 45 times the first day times 1 is 45. 45 times the second day times 2 is 90. Times 3 for the third day is 135. Times 4 for the fourth day is 180. And times 5 for the fifth day is 225. For Brett, his first day, 15 times 1 was 15. 15 times 2 is 30. Times 3 is 45. times 4 is 60, and times 5 is 75. Now, since they each read a different number of pages each day, they each follow a different rule. Now, because they're following a different rule, the difference for each day of reading is also going to be different. So we need to compare the rules. So we're going to compare 45 and 15. Now we know 45 is 3 times as great as 15. The difference will always be 3 times more. Julie will always read 3 times as many pages as Brett. So if we did 15 times 3 will give us her 45 pages. 30 times 3 will give us her 90 pages. 45 times 3 will give us the 135 pages. 60 times 3 will give us 100 pages, 180 pages, and then 75 times 3 gave us 225 pages. So we know Brett's number of pages times 3 will give us Julie's number of pages. So she read 3 times as many pages as he did, and that we can also say that he read 1/3 as many pages as she did. So remember, you can turn it around and do the inverse. Our next example says Maria and Henry are each starting a savings account. Maria puts 250 into her account each month, and Henry puts 125 into his account each month. How much money will each of them have saved after 6 months? So I created a table, and I listed the number of months, and then I put Maria's total and I put Henry's total. So instead of making 2 separate tables, I put them side by side, and I put my rules at the bottom. So for Maria, we're adding 250 each time. For Henry, we're adding 125 each time. So for month 1, she has 250 and he has 125. For month 2, she has 500 and he has 250. For month 3, she has 750 and he has 375. For month 4, she has 1,000 and he has 500. For month 5, she has 1,250, he has 625. And for month 6, she has 1,500 and he has 750. So when we're comparing these corresponding terms, these are the numbers that are next to each other in these different data sets, we can see that consistently Henry's number is half of Maria's. If you look at the rule, his rule says to add half the amount that Maria is adding. So their numbers are going to be consistently, hers are going to be consistently twice as much as his are going to be consistently half as much as hers. So she will always make 2 times as much money, or have 2 times as much money in her savings account as he does. He will always have half as much money in his savings account as she has. Our next example says, at their family's pizzeria, Dan makes 8 pizzas in the first hour that they open, and then 6 pizzas each hour after that. Susan makes 12 pizzas in the first hour that they open, and 6 pizzas in each hour after that. If the pizzeria is open for 6 hours, how many pizzas will they make in all? Okay, so I know that they're both following the same rule, but they're starting with a different number. So during hour 1, Dan has made 8 pizzas and Susan has made 12. So let's add these. So after 2 hours, now we're going to add 6. 8 plus 6 gave us 14, plus another 6 gave us 20, plus another 6 gave us 26, and then 32 and 38 for Dan. So by the end of the 6-hour day, he would have made 38 pizzas. For Susan, she starts with 12 and then she's going to keep adding 6. So by hour 1, she's made 12 pizzas. By hour 2, she's made 18, then 24, then 30, then 36, and then 42. So by following that rule of add 6, we can extend the pattern. Now you can also do this by writing equations and using multiplication. So we know that the rule is add 6, and we want to know if they make 6 pizzas per hour for 5 hours, plus that first hour, how many pizzas are they going to make? So the first hour is out here. So 8 pizzas for the first hour, and then 6 pizzas for the next 5 hours. So that's going to be 8 plus the product of 6 times 5, which is equal to 8 plus 30, which tells us that Dan made 38 pizzas. That lines up with what we got when we made our data table. For Susan, we're going to do the same thing. Her first hour is 12 pizzas plus 6 hours 6 pizzas, sorry, for the next 5 hours, which is 12 plus that 30, which gives us 42 pizzas. That shows us and lines up with the total that we got when we did our data table. So you can use your data table, or you can use an equation. As soon as you figure out the rule, you're able to extend the pattern as far as you like. Now for our guided practice, Nico says that the relationship between the terms is that the number of miles run is 1/4 the number of miles biked. Do you agree? So here, this goes back to the example that we did in the video lesson. So yes, I agree, because if the number of miles biked is 4 times as much as the run, that means that the run is 1/4 the number of miles biked. Remember, you can do both. And if you're not sure, you can put it into an equation and solve. So 20 times 1/4, or 20 divided by 4, is 30. Or 120 divided by 4 is 30. 240 times 1/4, which is the same thing as saying 240 divided by 4, is 60. You can see that those numbers are matching what we have in the table. 360 times 1/4 is equal to 90. Number 2, how many total miles will Jack have run and biked after 10 weeks and after 15 weeks? So after 10 weeks of running, we're going to start with our 30, and then we're going to do the 30 times the 10 weeks. So after 10 weeks, he would have done the 30 times 10, which would have given you 300 miles run. And then the 120 times 10 would have given you the 1,200 miles biked. And after 15 weeks, the 30 times 15 would have given you 450 miles run. And the 120 times 15 for the for the bike ride would give you 1,800 miles biked. Okay, let's go on to number 3. Miguel says he can use multiplication to find the terms in a pattern. Do you agree? Explain. So yes, he can use the rule. He can use the rule to multiply and extend the pattern. Since the patterns are following a rule, you can use multiplication to extend that pattern, because you're basically using repeated addition. All right, that takes us to the end of this lesson. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.